Percent of gamers have played a remake or a remaster finds a new report. This on GameIndustry.biz. It's true. I talk about it all the time. Every time we watch like awards and like award shows like the Game Awards and Nintendo Directs, Sony Lives, Xbox, Ubisoft, every time there's an event, I always groan because there's gonna be some kind of a remake. It's like such, I don't want to call it lazy, but it's like it lacks imagination if all you're gonna do is take an old classic and remake it over and over and over and over again. Oh man. Says though some respondents had concerns about studios taking an easy, repetitive route to market. 90% of PC and console gamers have played a remaster or remake in the last 12 months, a new report has found. MTM, a specialist strategy and insights consultancy firm, published its findings in the Remake versus Innovate is the Past, the Future of Gaming report, published on September 15th, 2025. The report explored the sentiment, tension, and economic impact of remakes and remastered video games on the market. Saw the MTM interviewing 1,500 monthly console PC gamers in the US and UK, 750 in each. So that's a pretty good sample size. They specifically define remaking as reimagining of the original game built from scratch with updated graphics, gameplay mechanics, and sometimes story elements. How many of you have played something that meets that description?
Me.
Yeah. Yeah. While the firm defines a remaster as an enhanced version of the original game, improving visual sound and performance without altering the core gameplay. It's a problem. It is definitely a problem. The research found that 85% of those who played a remaster or remake in the last year did so despite not playing the original version of the game. That's one of the positives that comes out of this. You know, the remakes and the remasters, they introduce old games that we love to new players. That's a good thing. That's about I think that's the biggest thing. I'm not gonna say the only good thing. That's like the biggest thing that I found with this phenomena is that people are getting introduced to new games. Case in point, I played Oblivion remake, and I played a little bit of the original, but I played a whole lot of the remake. So I got much more out of that game than I did before. Final Fantasy VII, like I never finished Final Fantasy VII, the original one, but the remake came out, and I finished 1.5 of the 3 trilogies. We won't talk about that. But man, it's a problem, man. We really want game companies to innovate. We want them to make new IPs, but at the same time, we want something fun and in a lot of ways familiar. Because as gamers, we definitely fall into that. We fall into the bucket of I want to play in this genre. Like a lot of people play sandbox games, people play MMOs, people play shooters. So we want a type of game. So we settle into a genre or several genres. I like several genres. We settle into those, and when a new game comes out, we kind of want it to fall into that. So game companies have to consider that. They have to go, hey, if we're going to make something new and refreshing and something nobody's ever done, it kind of needs to fall into a certain genre. So it could be a platformer, it could be a top-down, a turn-based RPG, MMORPG, 3D, 2D, text-based. A lot of stuff is out there. So it's a hard problem for game developers to nail down, and it's also risky. I think the really biggest thing is that a lot of game companies don't want to take the risk, because if you remake something that was already popular, it removes a lot of the risk of are we going to make money, because the game already sold, people already like it. All we got to do is make it pretty, slap a coat of paint on it, and put it out there, and we're guaranteed to make X amount of sales. So when you pitch that to the board, when you pitch that to investors, they like that kind of stuff. That's the world we're living in now. Game companies are doing everything they can to survive. However, indie games don't need that. Indie games don't need the board or sometimes investors to be on board with the idea. All they need is a Kickstarter. All they need is a GoFundMe or something, some kind of a fundraising mechanism. That's all they need, and the users will determine if the game is going to meet, their needs. Extreme example is Star Citizen. Very extreme example. So it's something that I think is a problem. I don't like it, but I don't know how to fix it. Exactly. I know just make better games is the obvious solution. Just make something good and make something new and refreshing. So when I watch these game shows and I see all these premieres and these trailers and stuff, I really look for something that's fresh, innovative, has a good art style, looks like it's fun to play, and I'll throw my money at it if that's the case. But these remakes and remasters are out of control. Now, I can understand sequels. Sequels is something I grew up with, so I can understand sequels. And I get on Nintendo a lot about how they pretty much only put out the same IP every year. So it's either Mario, Kirby, Zelda, the really, really big Nintendo IPs. That's what their bread and butter is. So when I watch a Nintendo Direct, I expect that. Like this year was no exception, but it was kind of expected that it was Mario's anniversary, 40th anniversary, I think. So I knew I was going to see a lot of Mario stuff. So this year wasn't that bad. But usually it's like, okay, here we go. Nintendo's going to rehash the same IP. And that gets old in its own right. But when they just totally remake a game, like I think it was the Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2, they're going to resell that at full price. And it's just that we're seeing so much of that. It's like, hey, your favorites remastered, reimagined, your favorites remastered, this and that. The Metal Gear Solid stuff, like this is what the article's talking about. It says in 2025 alone, we've seen remakes and remasters, including Tomb Raider 4 through 6 remastered, The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remastered, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, and the House of the Dead 2 remake. That's just this year, with more to come with Croc Legend of the Gobos, Gothic, Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time, and Splinter Cell. All these are going to be set for revivals. Our report shows that there's a strong appeal for remakes and remasters, but it's a tight balancing act for studios to get right. This is the head of gaming at MTM. Many of these games are far outselling their original release. That's true. That is definitely true. So yeah, check the story out over on GameIndustry.biz. It's just one of those things, man. I don't like it. You don't like it. Some of you probably do like it. I don't know, but it's hard for me to get excited, man, because it's hard for me to get excited when there's a remake or a remaster, because it happens so often now. It's like accelerating. Every time there's a game show like the Games Awards and stuff like that, there's going to be some kind of a remake. Oh, here we go. There's a remake. Here's a remake. Here's a remake. It can get very, very old, man. So check it out, chat.